All right, and this is going to be probably the last video that I make in preparation for the new set coming out. So this is going to be an introduction to Crystron. By the way, I didn't mention in the two other videos, and I know I'm going to get comments for years. This is not Master Duel. It is MD Pro 3. That's why the cards have a hover on them. I just know every single time people ask, my bad. Yes, it's MD Pro 3, not Master Duel. But yes, in the simulator, we get to play with the cards that are not out yet. And what we're going to be looking at now as the last one is Crystron. And this deck is really cool. Crystron, a lot more mid-rangey than I expected, actually. Not like an extremely long-winded synchro deck, surprisingly so. This deck really more so focuses on making level 7 and sometimes level 9 synchros. You have a lot of different ways of getting into your plays. The consistency is really quite good, and also the recursion is what's absolutely insane about this deck. The amount of really powerful graveyard effects that you have in this deck that you can use every turn is really just absurd. So for example, Smyger is a card you can just banish from your grave to search a Crystron spell or trap. Then you have the Thisvern, which you banish from your grave to search a Crystron monster. You have the Sulfenir, which can discard a Crystron card, special summon itself from hand or grave, and then pop a card on the field. And then if it pops itself, it special summons a Crystron from your deck. You have Sulfador, which combos really, really well with Inclusion. Tristaros in the grave can pop a Crystron Synchro on the field and special summon 2 Crystron monsters from your deck. Like, there's just so much going on from the graveyard in this deck. It's really, really absurd. I think that's why Droplet is so good in this deck, because you can really just take advantage of your graveyard. Like, it's just otherworldly levels of advantage that you get from your grave if you get into the grind game. And you have Cluster, your continuous trap. This card can pop 2 cards every turn for a very small cost of shuffling back a Crystron monster. And you do need to control a Crystron Synchro to pop 2, but even if you don't, then you get to pop 1 anyway, and it's very generic. You don't even need to control a Crystron monster to get a pop. You just need to shuffle back a Crystron from grave or banish. Like, it's really, really good. In the extra deck, you can easily make Cyber Dragon Nova, since you have a lot of level 5s, and you can summon 2 of them using Tristaros in the grave, so you can make Nova into Infinity very easily. Elf is kind of niche. This deck does lock you into machines, so Elf won't always be coming up, but there are moments where you can summon Elf early before you're locked. Targeting protection is really good, and a lot of the time you want to pass on Tristaros, because this card, if your opponent activates anything, including a hand trap, by the way, you get to special summon a Crystron from your deck and synchro summon on the spot. So there's some scenario. Well, most of the time you want to pass with a Tristaros on the field. So Elf is kind of nice, where like you actually won't need to keep that Tristaros. You can just like bring it back on opponent's turn to be able to use the Tristaros effect. So there's a lot going on with this deck. It's really, really cool, and I think just me talking about it is going to be more confusing than anything else. So we're just going to go ahead and show you some replays. And I guess one last thing I'll mention, Cherubini is full combo. That's why we're running Terror Top. You make Cherubini. Cherubini can send the Smyger, and then you can banish Smyger, search your spell. Your spell is your 1-card combo, etc., etc. Anyway, let's get into those replays. All right, so for this first replay, what I want to show you is really what you can do with just your Crystron Inclusion. So we're mostly going to be focusing on this 1-card combo, which is like really, really good. I will say though, for Crystron, like, I'm probably not playing this perfectly optimally. There is definitely a lot of skill ceiling, I would say, for this deck, where like I think it's not as hard to play. Like, a lot of people make it out to be like Memento levels, and I really don't agree with that. I think it's actually very easy to get into. It's just that there's obviously a clear skill ceiling that you can reach, where you can, like, you know, you can keep improving at this deck. There's a lot of room for improvement. So I'm sure that, like, if you're used to playing Crystron and you're watching this video, you'll probably see some things where you're like, yo, you could have done this. But I do think if you don't know anything about Crystron, this is probably a really good starting point. So anyway, let's just go ahead and activate our Inclusion here. Inclusion can search your Sulfenir, your Sulfador. Then you can go Sulfador, pop to special summon itself. Sulfador can then trigger its effect to dump 2 from your deck to the grave. So here you dump the Thisvern and the Smyger. So you get basically a spell and trap search, and you get a monster search. So with your Smyger, you can search your Crystron Cluster, and then with your Thisvern, crazy name, you get to search your Crystron Tristaros. So you can summon Tristaros. You have level 2 tuner, level 5, so you can go into your Elaskeletus. Hard to say. Elaskeletus here triggers. We can add back our banished Smyger to our hand as a discard for later. Special summon. It will activate Tristaros in the grave, popping our Synchro, special summoning 2 level 5s from our deck, and then we get the graveyard effect of Eliskelethus to bring back our Tristaros. So use Tristaros plus a level 5. You want to use your Sulfineer to get it in the grave, and you get to make yourself an FA Dawn Dragster, after which you can go for Sulfineer, discard the Smyger you added to special summon itself, pop itself, special summon another Tristaros from the deck. Normally I would have probably summoned a Citri here, but it doesn't matter because we're going to... Well, actually, no, because you want to leave the Tristaros on the field anyway. It's fine. So anyway, now we have our Inclusion. I forgot about this. Yeah, Inclusion also has a graveyard effect that is Monster Reborn for Crystron. Super crazy card. So bring back Sulfineer. You have 2 level 5s here. You can use them to go into Nova. Then you can obviously just make a Cyber Dragon Infinity. So we set our trap and we pass. As you saw, not super long-winded for like a synchro deck, nothing too crazy, but what we have here is actually pretty insane. So if my opponent activates anything, I get to special summon a Crystron from my deck and synchro summon using Tristaros, and that in this case, because I don't control another level 2 tuner, I won't be able to make the level 9, but I could still make an Eliskelethus, which would allow me to pop 2 cards with my trap. We have the Dawn Dragster, which is a spell trap negate, and we obviously have the Infinity, which is a Omni negate. So, you know, it's pretty mid-rangey, but it's really, really good, actually. The double pop is super broken. So here we go. Our opponent is going to summon some bullshit. Obviously, it's just a bot here, but they activate something. I'm going to go for my Tristaros, summon from the deck, use these two, go into Eliskelethus, get a double pop. Well, you know, I get to add back my Inclusion and then get a double pop with my trap. And obviously this is like a shitty bot. We didn't get to use the other interruptions. It doesn't really matter. But it's just to show, you know, and then like here, I'm just going to start pressing buttons to show you how much we actually have in the tank. So special from Grave, we get to pop our Inclusion, go into a Sprite Elf, activate our Inclusion in the grave, special summon from the grave our Synchro. We can go for Elf, bring back a level 2 from the grave, use these two, make a Vermilion Dragon mech. Then we can use Smyger, banish it from the grave, get our Inclusion. We can use that to pop our trap, special summon the Sulfador dump 2. We can go for Thisver, search another monster. We search a Sulfineer. You know, like we have so much going on in the grave. Like it's going to be really, really hard for your opponents to, if they don't kill you on turn 2, it's going to be really, really hard for them to do anything past that turn, honestly. Like on turn 3, you're just bouncing back with so much advantage. It's really, really broken. I think I have a replay playing through interruption, so I'm gonna go check that out. Okay, yeah, I do. So I have one that's into Duel, which is quite useful. Duel has been very popular in Master Duel lately, I found. So here we go. We're gonna play into Duel here. So we got a pretty solid hand. We're gonna start off with special summoning Terratop. Terratop search the Takatomborg, but it gets negated by Veiler. So we're not just playing into Duel. We're playing through multiple interruption, including Duel. So you know we get negated here. It's fine. We're gonna go for Inclusion. Inclusion search the Sulfineer since we already have Sulfador, and then they're gonna go for Duel. Okay, fine. So we're going to go for Sulfineer, discard our Smyger, special summon the Sulfineer, pop the Sulfineer, special summon from the deck our Tristaros. Then we can go for Sulfador, pop the Inclusion, special summon it itself, and we dump 2 cards to the grave. Now, in this case, you want to dump the trap because you can actually add it back with the graveyard effect of your Synchro level 7, and, you know, you're not going to be able to use your Smyger or your Thisvern because you're Droll locked, right? So we're just going to send the trap to get it back with our level 7 Synchro, and we still get 2 summons from the deck here, right? Because we get to go Eliskelethus, add back our Cluster, then we get the graveyard effect. Well, we set our Cluster. We get the graveyard effect of Tristaros, pop Skeletons. I hate this name. Special summon 2 level 5s from the deck. We still get to make our Nova. We still get to do Eliskelethus effect, bring back the Tristaros from the grave. So use these two. We can make a Dawn Dragster. Then we can go for the graveyard effect of Inclusion to bring back a level 5 from the graveyard. We bring back the Sulfineer. We have 2 level 5s. We can go into Nova at this point. And so we get Nova. We go into Infinity. Pretty crazy board, all things considered. Basically, this becomes just a single pop. But considering that we're playing into Veiler and Droll, getting a Spell Trap negate, an Omni negate, whatever you had left in hand, and a bunch of recursion on turn 3 is pretty crazy, because that means that even if you didn't win on turn 2, right, the odds of them making it to, like, basically the odds of them getting lethal into this interruption is pretty low. And then, you know, you can just get to turn 3 and obviously get set up from there. So it's pretty damn good. Now, I'm not going to show the whole thing. This is like a crappy bot, you know, it's whatever. But I just wanted to show, like, into Duel, you can still set up a decent board. Do I think this deck is going to be top tier? No. I actually think this whole set doesn't have anything that's going to be really, like, tier 1 meta defining. But I think a lot of these things are going to be competent enough to perform pretty well into master rank and be pretty interesting decks. Like, if you ask me, Crystron is feeling like it's probably going to be something around maybe tier 3 just because it will not like playing into Max C or Fuelos very much. Also, like Nibiru is going to be quite good against this deck much of the time. Same goes for like, let's say Materiactor. I think Materiactor is a really cool deck, but also not really going to like to play into those cards in particular, and probably going to struggle a bit more into Droll than this deck does, although you do have a good Droll play with the Fiendsmith engine. Then there's also Mimighoul. I think Mimighoul is going to be the best one if you play it with the Snake Eyes package like I showed, but it's still probably just going to be like a more interesting and fun variant of, you know, like your typical Snake Eyes Fiendsmith pile. I think the deck is solid, but I definitely don't think it's going to be tier 0. So do I think it's a skip pack? I mean, it'll depend on how expensive it is, and even then, it would really more so be if you only care about getting the tier 0 best new thing in the game and you keep your gems only for tier 0, tier 1 type stuff, maybe, but I don't think it's a bad pack. I think the decks are all quite competent, quite good, except for Ryuga, which I tested a lot and I was not able to make it not feel like shit. Maybe Ryuga Stun is going to be pretty good, and that's like the extent of it. I know some people were talking about Ryuga Sword Soul being pretty solid, and I mean, I believe it. I'm sure that in Sword Soul it's like playable, but you're also putting a bunch of bricks in Sword Soul, so yeah, so those are my early thoughts on the upcoming set. We're going to do a Goblin stream as we normally do, and I hope you guys, you know, enjoy these little videos. I'm trying to keep them pretty short because I don't have a lot of time to like make super long introduction videos, so I really just want to give you the essentials so that you can kind of jump into these decks and at least have like a little bit of an idea of what you're doing. So yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thank you very much. Buy the merch, Lacrima merch, very nice merch, misplaycentral.com. Buy it. Okay, thank you. Okay, see you later.